what Daniel is accomplishing with his work is really important because he's getting people to do this daily charting without any human contact, and it takes someone to do a study like this to realize how difficult it is to get bipolar patients to keep consistent daily charting of their effort. So he's accomplishing this without humans, so that's an amazing thing. So I'll be talking to you now about my system, iMonitor. This is something that was developed within the needs of a research project at the Institute of Psychiatry where I work, and it was also work completed under my PhD thesis, which is 3 months from submission to today. In contrast to the mood chart, the iMonitor runs on this sort of PDA devices. These are called personal digital assistants. I want just briefly introduce to you some of these gadgets here. We won't have any demonstration here, but this is one of the first PDAs developed by Apple, the Newton. We have a table down with the stand, so you can come and play with it. It's still functional. It was developed in the early 90s. That's a palm device, the one you see. So patients who are doing this system were getting one of these devices. And now we are on iPhone and iPod Touch. So things have advanced a lot, but you will see why it's important speaking even to old technologies like this, because all three of us, what we will see what we're trying to accomplish, we're trying to make electronic mood monitoring a very cheap and cost-efficient solution. So we don't want to make mood monitoring an expensive solution only for a few people. You will see Christophe's work is actually accomplishing this with even more complicated technologies. So just briefly take you over the Maudsley bipolar eMonitoring project, and then I will tell you about iMonitor and how it was developed, and I'll give you some insights into data we have. Now that's one of the phases of the study. Basically patients were recruited and they were asked to keep track of their moods on a daily basis for 3 months, that's 90 days. They all had to be in a subclinical state, so they had to be out of episode. And the main aim of the project and idea was to evaluate the hypothesis that mood instability and symptom variability can actually predict relapse, so can predict outcome. And I'm getting some interesting findings and good findings so far in terms of that. But in order to do that, we needed to have a very complicated phase where patients were asked to keep daily records of their moods with 2 electronic diaries, iMonitor and chronorecord. I'll tell you about chronorecord. They're friends and competitors. They're not here today, but they're doing great work as well. And at the same time, while they were doing this daily self-monitoring, I was calling people up every week, and I was monitoring their symptoms using the Hamilton and the Young interviews, which are supposed to be the gold standard measures of monitoring mood disorders, and they're used in most trials. And during that phase also, we had, with half of the group, we had monthly face-to-face meetings. So patients would be evaluated in a face-to-face way and see who had relapsed or who had significant symptom peaks. And also we would retrieve their data from their devices and solve any problems. But this was ongoing during the weekly monitoring as well. And people would continue in the study even if they relapsed, depending how severe the relapse was. There were a few relapses, but the idea is that we wanted most people to stay essentially well during that phase. Okay, so iMonitor comes in here as a daily measure of symptom variability. So the questions were designed with this thing in mind. We wanted to measure mood instability in bipolar disorder during a well period, a well phase. Okay, so these are the tools that were used. We gave them this really nice device for free. We even paid them to do it, half of them. So it's good feeling like a bipolar Santa, so they were all very keen to get in the study. But the most people who participated were middle-aged bipolar patients, young people with bipolar disorder. Even with all these rewards and incentives, they were not that keen to monitor the moods, but that's a different thing. And here where we come with the ActiveWatch, along with their activity monitoring, half of the group used an ActiveWatch That's a device that Christoph will be telling you more about, but essentially it has an accelerometer sensor, like the sensors you have in your Wii players if you play the Wii or the iPhones where the screen turns around. And basically that monitors activity and sleep. So it's a great device, but look at the price. You can't give that to your patients, so you can give them to very few people, and you know, that's the wrong price. You know, Christoph is actually developing this for what, £20 now, or something like that. Okay, so cost is important in what we do, and you know, we aim to keep things very, very low price. And the other half of the group use pedometers, but pedometers that work. You know, not all pedometers deliver good data, but we've got some data from pedometry too. Now, this is just some early data about the phase of the project. Now, 44 people were recruited. 4 actually relapsed right after they were recruited, so they did not go into the study. 5 dropped during, and 35 people completed. So for a study so intense and doing some symptom monitoring, this is really very low attrition rate. And you know, look at the number of days of data returned and number of weekly assessments. That's me doing 394 weekly telephone interviews. So it's a few years of my life. And that's 54 assessments. And this is the interesting thing. Everybody was saying, oh, people will lose the device, or they'll break them, or they'll run away with them. We don't have major problems. People can do it without causing major problems. But to be honest with you, for people to get in the study, they were highly screened. We did not include any people with borderline personality disorders or even features of it, and no antisocial traits. So it was a highly selected group, but they still did it. So they gave really good results. To go into iMonitor quickly, the idea was that we wanted to develop a brief and reliable and hopefully valid self-reported electronic diary that would capture symptom states, bipolar symptom states, especially during the subsyndromal period. And to do that, we had to normalize the diary. You know, we couldn't ask about mania or more severe symptoms in that way. So the questions developed that you may see later on in the demo, we tried to make them as normal as possible, and we also tried to keep to the life chart schema. So Daniel and I, we share the same methodology, philosophy. So we adhere to actually monitoring mood and function together. So the questions about mood and function were separate, and we did not make the assumption that mood can be either depressed or manic. So we assumed that they could have both in a day or at the same time. And the important thing is that we wanted to make it easily accessible to everybody, and even to people from low socioeconomic backgrounds, and at the same time maintaining the benefits of electronic monitoring.